Yes, yes, yes. My YouTube live crew. There's a joke in there about two live crew, but YouTube live crew. That's a pretty early joke for you. Hello and welcome. It is a Friday afternoon, a little bit earlier than I typically do my live sessions, but I wanted to jump in today because I don't have a lot of access to other audio stuff going on this weekend because unfortunately, as some of my videos have shown, the property managers here and or contractors had accidentally turned on the water for the building outside, probably to do some landscaping or whatnot. Could have been in the contractors, and unfortunately, there is a leak in the foundation by the building, and it flooded my floors. In which case, I had to rearrange my audio system, move some speakers around, move all the gear, disconnect all the wires. So a lot of that is in disarray this week. That's why I'm doing the live, and the whole purpose of the live today, as well as talking with friends and fans and answering some questions about the channel or equipment or my opinion on things, is to focus basically on the last 7 years of my media journey. Essentially, when I started taking media and audio shows a little more seriously, visiting Toronto and Montreal audio shows, and then being able to reach out a little bit to magazines and vendors and brands and visit people in Florida, in Chicago as well, multiple times, take photos there, and also get to know a lot of brands and reps and people and make new friends over those last 7 years. And it's really important to, embrace the fact that, and I strongly feel that the best part of a community is the people that you meet and the friends that you make. Um, a lot of the gear changes, a lot of the knowledge and things that you learn from everyone grows, and sometimes you forget stuff. The people that you meet, the friendships that you build, the camaraderie and the togetherness is actually really important. And that's something that I'm very, very grateful for over the last 7 years, is that I've been able to meet and introduce myself and get to know a lot of people in the business, as well as get myself a number of jobs. Um, as we'll see here, this first show that I want to showcase is in video format from 2018. This is before I got my job with Paradigm and Anthem Electronics. And at the time, I was always a big fan of Paradigm and Anthem, and I knew that they were local. And getting to know some of the crew there just inspired me to think, like, hey, I don't have to continue doing the job that I have. Hey, True Voice of Reasons here. Thank you for joining today. Hopefully you're doing well, holding up well. I know the weather's been all over the place lately for all of us. Thanks for joining and listening. To everybody else who's watching or tuned in, thank you for listening and turning it on. I will try to keep everything sort of descriptive. Say if you're not actually watching the stream and you're just listening or off in the distance, I'll try to be as descriptive as possible. I'll read out the comments. The replay should catch up most of that. But anyways, what I want to do is start at the beginning, start at my 2018 journey at Toronto Audio Fest, and go from there and talk about what each of the things kind of meant to me, the history of my journey in audio, as well as the connections and the people that I've gotten to know through each of the video, not video, but mostly photos. I'll talk about the products, but mostly who hosted the room, got to know certain people, the things that grew from those experiences, some behind the scenes stuff, if I can share such a thing. I wish that I could do this all the time, but unfortunately, it is a competitive space for media, and there are a lot of talented people out there in my peer circle that are already really established and have a lot of stuff going on. So I love watching them succeed, watching them travel the world, watching them grow, being inspired by some of the things that they're doing, as well as like gear reviews, photos, types of camera, the kinds of video cameras that people are using. Things have really come up in the world in terms of media, and then seeing our styles and choices, get inspired by each other has been pretty cool. I mean, 2018, I think I was out there doing show coverage at a time where it wasn't really even normalized. There was a number of people that I remember doing, like AV Showrooms was one of the first channels I remember doing audio shows. But most of my other peers in this space at that time didn't even have their own channels yet. Almost all of them that I can think of off the top of my head didn't even have their own channel yet. I think Jay started his channel at about the same time, but a few of the other people that I know didn't have their audio channels at the time. So this was going on at a time where that wasn't even a thing. So I just want to start at the beginning and talk about some of my near misses. And in this room, if I can play this track here, it's probably just searching for the file. This room, I didn't even realize like that I was looking at the Sonus Faber Cremonese speakers. I don't think these are Liliums. And just browsing through the room, this was Angie's room, and I didn't realize that that's what these speakers were. It wasn't until afterwards that I realized, looking back at my video footage, that like, oh my God, that's what these speakers are. And I've heard them and been in the room with them, and now I absolutely adore them. But at the time, getting into the business, getting into media, and like, you know, observing some of these things, I didn't quite realize the significance of what I was witnessing at this time. I have to admit I was a big audio fan, but I wasn't as well educated as I am today because of my experiences. The avant-garde speakers, a number of different models there. Taking a sip of water in the hallway, the big Martin Logan room, and they showcase these, I think these are the 15As with the Moon Audio amplifiers. Yeah, pretty incredible stuff at this time. I stayed for the whole demo, but I'm not going to play the demo. Let me see. Let me minimize this. And I will go out to grab a couple of other videos that I thought was significant. Like my first time experiencing Acora acoustics. Let me pause this. Yeah, first time experiencing Acora acoustics. They had the 750 monoblock amps. This is the first time I got to meet Val in the room. This is one of the first models that they had. And at this time, I had no idea. So, I mean, even at this time, Val was using Audio Research and esoteric brand stuff. I think this is a Lumen Streamer. And this was one of the most amazing systems of that year. Very, very clear sound. Really caught my attention for Acora acoustics at that time in 2018. I had no idea at the time. But it turned out to be really significant. I mean, Acora is doing amazing stuff now. Let me see what else I can share. And then my first experience with the AIDA speakers, that's another absolutely incredible speaker. And I mean, at the time, I believe this is the first time that I got to meet Jay as well, because he worked with Audio Excellence. This was one of the first years that Audio Excellence got to display at the show. It was a lot of work. They had a giant room downstairs. This is the show I also got to meet Will Klein. He was the representative for Sonus Faber and Macintosh at the time that joined them at the show. So got to hang out with Will, listen to some cool songs. I didn't, like I said, at the time I didn't realize what I was watching, like what I was witnessing. I knew that they were great. I've heard of some of them before, but I wasn't as informed in 2018 with all of the brands, all of the significance of this stuff. The high end was still a little bit locked away from me. I was a hobbyist, but I didn't quite grasp the weight of what I was watching or what I was listening to at this point. But it was obviously incredible to be able to meet everybody. And like I said, my history just kind of bloomed from here, meeting the the guys from Audio Excellence meeting will kind of set this motion of, hey, like this is what's possible in audio, and these are the kinds of levels of things that are possible. And going to the audio show really inspired me to, pursue these kinds of things. So if I can here for a minute, let's remove this, and I'm going to share something else. Stop sharing, present. I'm going to share the photos. These are photos from 2021, I believe, because 2020, as we know, we had like COVID happen. There was a lot of problems that kind of came in the frame at around that time. Some of the shows stopped, at least in Toronto, they stopped, and I didn't get out to see any other shows. So in about 2021, things started picking up again, and 2019, I believe I should have some files from 2019, but I don't remember where those are at this point. My files are a little bit in disarray. 2021's the first set that I can find, and I don't want to spend time searching through everything. That'll be rather boring content. So yeah, 2021, I believe, is the first day. Okay, I'm just going to prep the other days here in the background. All right, so in 2021, I took photography a little bit more seriously. I got a little more creative, a little more sort of used to what my camera can do, and I started shooting better photography. I mean, I'm leaving my watermark over top of the images here just for this session. Maybe some of the other ones I won't, but for the sake of this showcase, that's what I'll be doing. And we'll just scroll through these. Again, this is Core Acoustics, which I got to know really, really well. Was very happy to experience some of the newer products. I believe this is the first year that they had the bookshelf in the room at the other end of the room, or maybe that was the following year. 2022 also brought a lot of new stuff. And again, I'm exploring my friendships with brand owners and reps that are around at these shows. And again, exploring what I could do with my phone, with recording, with lighting. I was getting used to the media thing. I had shot photography before, but it wasn't really informed. It was just sort of artistic, just whatever I could pull off. And at this time, because it was a combination of my audio and photography and joy, I started experimenting a bit more, seeing what was possible. These are nowhere near what I can shoot today, but they were pretty significant for me at the time. Home Theater Denmark's here. Everybody, what's up? How are things lately? Saw some videos regarding water. Yes. Unfortunately, there is some water damage to the floor. The carpets got stained. None of the equipment got damaged, thank God. I have to look into that actually a little bit more. Some of it might actually have a little bit of water damage. But I was able to recover quickly. I got a quick response from property managers. They're aware, and I hope to God that nobody else turns the water on before it's fixed properly, because it's very easy to flood at this point. And I've warned them multiple times over the past 2 years. I warned them, please don't turn it on. It needs to be fixed. There's this problem. It takes only like 15 to 20 seconds for water to start to flood underneath the wall from outside to inside. And the ironic thing is, it doesn't flood when it rains. It only happens when the faucet is on, or when the water tap from outside is on. So it's very strange. And it's completely avoidable. So we'll see what happens. Yes, it is a good thing I had my stuff elevated. Amp stands, speaker feet and spikes, cable risers. No joke, I have cable risers there to keep some of the stuff off the floor. Power bars. The power bars were off, so there was no electrical power being fed, but they were plugged in. So thank God. I have a thick carpet in that room, so it soaked up most of that water. Anyhow, this is the EQ audio room for 2022, and this is where I got to meet Ed and Michelle and Matt and a number of other people that work there, but also the guys that work with like Rotel and Monitor. Um, yeah, it was interesting to meet everybody at that time, explore like what this audio was all about, start to see some of the products that I've only seen like in magazines or online, start to hear them in person, check out what each of them means, what they can do, more or less just see how the shows are introduced. I believe this was EQ Audio's first time um, running the show. Not running the show, but running their own rooms. So I started shooting some really sort of creative shots for them just to see what I can pull off. If you guys are drinking tonight, you can comment below. Did you see my lengthy reply about the issue? My thoughts on all. Some of it, I think I replied to almost everybody who left a reply, but if I didn't, then I have to get to it. In Denmark, you can only get stuff insured if our stuff is at least 10 centimeters off the ground. Ah, that's interesting. Because they know, obviously, if there's flooding or whatever, then you need to be responsible about what's on the ground. That kind of makes sense. 10 centimeters is about 5 inches ish. Not that I've measured or anything, but it sounds like 5 inches. Shh, nobody make the joke. Oh, okay. I will follow up with the comments. Absolutely. I think I did, but I'm not really sure. Some of the notifications are slow for YouTube. Yeah, just continuing with the photography. I just playing with lighting, seeing what the angles are. I'm here crouching on the floor like a normal, became my normal sort of photography thing. Different kinds of brands, Totem and Nagra. My first time meeting the guys at Altitudo Audio, they brought in the Ellipson and Triangle series and Auris. 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 Anyways, lots of interesting stuff. Again, playing with photography, angles, symmetry, trying to get my feel for photography at this time. Not necessarily copying anything in media and social media, because at this time I didn't see anybody really managing accounts for HiFi or anything. I knew of a number of people in media and started following brands online, and I was super excited to hear at this time. Again, I had been in audio for a little bit. In 2018, 19, I started working at Paradigm at Anthem. 2021, I started reaching out to brands and things online. So I started getting to know some people that were involved with the social media scene, but it wasn't as big at the time. It wasn't until after this that media and social media reach with brands and posting and Instagram and all that stuff, it started catching on really at about 2022. And then a lot of brands started coming up and started using social media a lot more because, let's face it, a lot of people migrated that way over time, and it just wasn't a thing to begin with. It was a little slow. So I have all of these photos and videos and things like that captured from way back when. And let's just chalk it up to the fact that ADHD is not really a good focus tool. And I didn't have everything kind of like in a line to put myself on the map at that time. I was doing a lot of work, but not able to market myself, put myself in the right place. Most of us use Euro palettes, basement, learned from experience, ages. Yes. Yes, of course. And thank you for the photography. Thank you. Photography is about seeing what others may not or do not see, capture. Yes, the view. And the view, to be honest, after I did a number of shots, you'll see in some of my scrolling here, there's a type of shot that I was doing at this time or later on that a lot of people started taking my images and using them without asking, sharing them online. I mean, that's okay. I like the fact that people are sharing stuff, but it's nice to have your name attached to it, because otherwise no one else is going to know that you're doing this work. And the idea is that we support businesses and people and represent them and whatnot. So I admire those who share in kindness and respect. And when it's taken and used without that kind of respect, then it's not so nice, right? But then the style of photography changed. A lot of people started shooting the same way that I do, or that I was at the time, because the images turned out so well. Now I'm just using my phone for these, and they could have been a lot better if I was using a DSLR or another camera, absolutely. And if I knew what I was doing, but it's not so much about the gear, it's about the composition and being able to find the view, as you put it. Like in this comment, it is about capturing the view and that angle of um, image so that you're able to showcase an item in a different way that some people may not be able to see, or that it looks a certain way or shows off certain details. Like most amazing cabinet, like what even is that? I'm not even sure the brand. This is stuff that was in the marketplace. My first time meeting the Win Audio Room, the Weinbergs, with the Karen, Karan. It's I believe it's a Serbian brand, European made. I've never heard them say the name, so I don't know for sure. But this is one of the first times seeing this brand. Amazing colors. I had to try and photograph around the tape here. See, there's a band of tape on the side. This is like protecting the speakers. Coaxial speakers, small stuff down in the lower rooms. Kaiser speakers. Now I know more about this brand now. They're starting to use Purify woofers and starting to do some amazing things. So I'm really fascinated with how things have developed in these number of years since I've gotten to know some of the brands. And this room was like one of the most interesting rooms with all the room treatment. But 2018 really is just like the beginning of the journey. At this time, I wasn't like, I didn't exercise everything that I could. I didn't know a whole lot about photography and what looked best and that kind of thing. So, yes, absolutely amazing looking speakers, amazing looking gear. And it's what's really cool about coming to shows and seeing this stuff like in person, is you get to see all the fine details that isn't really photographed all that much. And that's something that I learned from my shots here, like this kinds of shot. This is what I'm talking about, that I was doing this early, is this shot from the floor up at the speakers, the way that Michael Bay would shoot in like Transformers or Bad Boys, or, you know, like that typical hero shot. This is something I was doing really early. And it wasn't until a number of images that I shared from Expona and a couple of other shots that I started seeing this kind of angle show up all over the place. This year, last year, people started copying this angle at, literally after I was posting it. And I don't, obviously inspiration is fine. I don't mind that people are doing it. An angle of photography is not something to really say that it belongs to someone. Obviously, I was copying Michael Bay, so I saw a lot more of my style showing up later on because it looked different. People weren't shooting photos that way. I don't even know what kind of turntable this is. I just thought the color and lighting was actually super cool. The monitor audio is back in the original room. And this is one of the shots that got me on the map. I believe this shot was used on the website as well as shared by Monitor Audio. Then this is in 2021. So I came back when they were revealing new speakers in the following year and got some of the shots there. So that's, you know, that's just a stool that they had as a prop in the middle of the room. And I just decided to use it as the foreground. The best gear is you can have is your, hold on. The best gear is you can have is your, wow, dude. your eye and your brain's interpretation. Some of the best shots were taken with an old 110 film spy camera. Yeah, yeah. And composition and timing and lighting and effect is definitely a huge thing with photography. You can play with the elements that you have on in frame, then you can truly like create a lot of art. That's where the artistic side comes from. So this is this unit, this Encore Connect and the Encore 225 is a musical fidelity flop as far as we're concerned now. Apparently, the software doesn't work well on these units, and they don't support the streaming anymore, which is a really, really sad state of affairs because it had a lot of potential. How many CD streaming preamps are there now? Right? Like CD streaming preamps are coming back into style, and at this time this is an older unit by Musical Fidelity. They had this nailed, except the fact that the streaming platform that they were using at the time and the hardware, the way it was implemented, was kind of a dud. It seems like a great and amazing unit at the forefront if they switch out the streaming section. Like if they put an existing like an MX stream, or if they put something else inside the unit and repackaged it or resold it, I think that these would be amazing. I was really fascinated in this. That's the Encore Connect model Musical Fidelity. I thought they were amazing. I still think that they're really cool. Just the fact that the streaming doesn't work well anymore. Oh, one of my viewers on Facebook is going to know what this shot is all about. If you guys know what these speakers are, Estelon Forza models. They were relatively new at the time, but they had them playing on the caster wheels in the room. And apparently that's a no-no. For their best sound possible, you want them spiked to the floor for the bass response. But, you know, you're at an audio show, that's what happens. What a beautiful shape. I love Estelon speakers. Absolutely stunning. Massive, heavy, incredible, absolutely incredible. Some of my favorites at that show. And then the Franco Serbalin, that's the original Sonus Faber engineer. So I'm hanging out quite a bit in this album. I need to step up to the last few. I'm gonna skip this one if I may. How many photos do I have left? Not a whole lot of interesting stuff. PMC is in there. Gershman Acoustics. My first time experiencing Audio Note UK. This is the pretty much the day and the event that I met Vincent Belanger. I hope that I'm saying the name right. I've heard the name said quite a bit. We met the first time in 2021. This is when we were still wearing masks, I think, post-COVID, whatever. And I got to sit in the room, have a chat. We talked about music. We talked about influences. We got to, he actually played some drum and bass music for me in that room. It was actually a really, really fun time. I'm not even sure if I have video clips from this time. Can't play them here anyways because of copyright, but this is the beginning of that friendship and getting to know what Audio Note UK was all about. It was really kind of an incredible time. So let me step back from that. Now I'm gonna share some of these other albums. I'm gonna skip to day 3, see what we have in here. Yeah, I have there's a lot of albums in here. Let me see. I can't share my whole screen because if you guys have anything else that's going on, just let me know. Let me see. Select all. Open with, preview. It's kind of a lot to navigate in the back end here. Present, share screen, window, preview, share, stage, hello. So this is day 2 at the same year. This is 2021. The Moon Audio Room presented by Audio One. Audio One has been my number one go-to audio store for a number of years since I was a kid, basically since I was 15 years old. Those are the first guys that I met for audio and always went back there for anything that I wanted or needed. So they presented in I believe that's a presidential suite that's upstairs in the Toronto Audio Fest. Amazing room. This is one of those artistic sort of shots that I wanted to get, showcasing the whole room as well as like all of the banners and the brands all represented at one time. History of Sim Audio. Another one of those like up sort of shots that I got used to taking. Let me see if I can't blow that up any more than that. That's as big as it's gonna get. That's what she said. This was a release date for the T600 Synchrony. Paul Barton himself and Nick, the representative for PSB and Lenbrook, Lenbrook Group, I guess it is. They're not a distributor. Anyways, this is the first time I got to meet them and got to know more about PSB in general. The B600 Bookshelves T600 series was released then this weekend, and they did like a whole series on these. It was actually really fun. Got to know a little bit more. These are like some of the smoothest, greatest sounding speakers that I've heard. Really, even Canadian made. They're very smooth and relaxing. A bit finicky as far as some of the setup is concerned, but I mean, in order to get accurate sound, you really need to play with positioning anyways. So I don't think that that's much of a throw off. Most audio focused and highly knowledgeable audio people will say that yes, you're going to need to use positioning in your room in order to get everything sort of sounding as great as possible. Some more. Here's another sort of creative shot from the amp on the floor, the speakers in the background, using the floor and the angle to capture all of the products in one shot. Like this was 2021 when I started doing some of this stuff, and it became something that I was known for or got good at, and a lot of people shared these images back then. And at the time, I didn't really see anybody doing a lot of this stuff. There wasn't a lot of media from audio shows. If you did see it, it was in magazines. It was pretty much dark images shot from the middle of the room with no thought about the angles or composition. And you still see that today. That some of the guys that are taking photos for these magazines really don't care about and know much about photography at all. It's meant as a placeholder or a visual aid for their writing, which is okay. I don't mind that. But it's hardly artistic. It's not something of an artistic value that you'd want to share as a brand representing, or advertisement or something that actually capture your attention. Like these massive, massive 888 monoblocks. Looks like a stereo output, but it's only one input, so it's not a left and right. I guess for bi-amping off of a monoblock, that makes sense. So again, with the Weinberg speakers, another shot from the floor. Some photographers had said that, this angle's okay, but because it's a short lens, it's a 23 millimeter lens on the camera. You get the ceiling in the shot, and you can't really back up far enough to get just the background. But that's something that I learned later on in my photography. Again, most amazing room, so comfortable. Great diffusion. I mean, if you think that Audio Group Denmark used plants for diffusion, this room really had it nailed. And those are Vandersteen speakers, I believe, with the either amps or active crossovers on the floor. I'm not all that caught up with model names and numbers and all that stuff. Essentially, I just recognize the logo and then I just go from there. Another shot from the floor, just kind of experimenting something new. The glow of the system, musical fidelity, EQ Audio and Ed himself, like they're really big on musical fidelity and Accurus and Aragon amps and stuff. A lot of that stuff had been in the system for a long time. Acora, again, there's another shot of the bookshelves with the other models in the background. You should be like, who let the dogs out? Home Theater Denmark did. Oh, that's true. I didn't even post this in order. So now we know who let the dogs out. It's this guy right here. Back in 5. Okay, hopefully somebody's timing him. If he's late, what do we do? Totem acoustics with the room displays. Trying to get creative with that background. Really awesome stuff. Some technology shots there. And I'm going to skip up a year. I'm going to remove this. Stop sharing. And we're going to move. I'm going to go to 22. Audio Fest photos 2022. I'm going to share everything. And in this set, I have a strong feeling that the photo quality you'll see in a second, the photo quality and the type of things that I'm trying to shoot for are improved by quite a bit. I had a lot more practice and kind of had a focus on what I really wanted to do. I guess this is the best shot. I got a feel for the camera a little bit more angles. I found some feedback from brands and reps and things that worked. Some of the photos that got shared or those that were favored. 5 lashes with a wet noodle. Are we talking about fettuccine? Spaghetti? Are we talking about elbow noodles? Do we pack a t-shirt cannon with elbow noodles? See what happens. Acora acoustics with the white. This is the first year I believe they brought out their quartz marble finish. Typically they had the black granite flake granite. Oh yeah, and the Atmos demo room that EQ Audio had. They brought in the multi-channel, and Chris was there. It's actually one of the first or second times I got to meet with Chris Shaw and talk about some of the, the 1000 Utopia series plus Atmos and the demos that they shared, the Elton John song, which is unanimous. Now also got to meet Sheldon and Rick and Jeff with Kevro Group and Rotel Monitor Audio. This year they brought out the Platinum series. These are the Platinum 300s, 200s, 200 3Gs. And these won basically the best of the show. The sound was absolutely amazing in the back of the room. EQ Audio did such a great job with this demonstration. And still to this day, there's such an amazing sound. And I find, even though there's other brands and models and looks and aesthetics that I really appreciate, I don't know if they're going to be any better than these, certainly for their floor space. Their size, they're a lot smaller than they sound. They sound absolutely massive. Of course, they're built very solid, so you get some of that benefit in their construction. More Weinberg, different style, same kind of setup, a little bit of a different backdrop, but if we're almost honest, this is almost the same setup as the previous year. Some of the gear there, I think there's a power supply difference, but mostly the same. No tape in my face. And this is the adjacent system. Adjacent system? Oh, there I am. Wow. More fashionable than usual. Audio by Mark Jones. Another opportunity for me to shoot different kinds of photos and get to know Mark a little bit better. With each show, and the more often I go to these shows, I got to meet and talk with the artists a little bit more and talk with the reps a little bit more. Audio Note UK in a different room. I don't believe this was their only room this year. I think somebody else had them playing this year. I don't remember. Shot from the floor of the amp. Yeah, not at that time. Who makes the marble speakers is Acora Acoustics. So that's this one. I don't know if these are quartz stone or marble. The new ones are marble for sure, but I think these were quartz. So yeah, down on the floor, taking shots. Alnick. This might be Altitudo Audio. I don't remember. Honestly, don't remember who had this system, but this doesn't seem like a. It's not an Audio Note UK because they bring their own amplifiers, so that's not. That's not who's running this room. There's another shot across the bow. There it is. Yep. Me, I did it. It's me. Let the dogs out. HiFi Center HiFi. I got to meet and talk with Frank of Coherent Audio quite a bit about his designs in a number of these rooms, and they're really kind of incredible. It's like an 18-inch coaxial speaker with a super tweeter. Really, really amazing sound, like beyond what I would expect. Cabinets are built like tanks on the inside with like finned construction. I don't know. I don't think I have a photo of the inside. This is from a different room, but I got to talk with him more each year that I go in there, and you can see in 23 and 24, there's lots of different pictures from the inside of that stuff. Shots from Inuos and Aperta. So like this is the kind of thing I get in trouble for, is showcasing stuff like that. So like when they're moving this stuff around, you can see that they're the impressions from the I think it's what the grills. The grills are making this mark, but also as you can see on camera here, this isn't exactly a smooth finish. See all the like orange peel rippling effect? So I use the camera to like nitpick at details, and this is where some of the photography work isn't always the most welcomed. I love actually also capturing people who are capturing audio. I call it like audio files in the wild. So I'll take one with the person in the shot and then another one without it. So it's like magic. PMC and Motet, I got to meet a number of people there, listen to some more tracks. Altitudo's big room this year. Now I remember where they were. And they put the speakers in this place because essentially underneath the room at one point, this overhangs the driveway of the hotel, and they didn't get a lot of really good bass response from that area. So they had to move the speakers and use the pillars as diffusion, and it turned out to be really, really great. PSB came out with the T800 this year, so I got to sit and listen to those, demo those beside the T600s, got some audio shots of those. And then they brought out that 350 LE and the passive, like a remodel of the passive. So those are pretty cool. Different kinds of angles there, colors. I'm looking for different kinds of shots. Trying to do good by at PS Audio here. Cardis audio cables, that's 2021, 22. You can see there's Joseph Audio. What a great name for a brand. Audio by Mark Jones. ProAct speaker. Actually, this is not audio by Mark Jones. This is just ProAct speakers. But stunning finish. I couldn't believe the kind of finish on these. I had to get up real close and nice. And then I believe I did some pretty cool shots here for Polk Audio B&W. This is the Massimo group at this time, I believe. So there you go. There's one shot, but there's a difference between this shot and this shot. And can anybody see exactly what it was? other than the angle. I'm angled up at it a little bit, but I did something between here and here. Can you guys can see what it is. It's pretty obvious if you're looking. And anyways, it made, from this shot, I was like, okay, that's a pretty decent shot. I kind of know what I'm looking for, but this is what I really needed out of it. Put the 700 series in the background. This one is more lined up properly. Orange Peel's sound refraction finish. That's, yeah, sure. The bumpy surface on the front of the cabinet when it's painted is supposed to refract the sound better rather than it being smooth. Okay. Like the rippling on the front of the Marantz is supposed to diffuse the sound between the speakers. No. I don't buy it. I don't buy it. So yeah, this kind of shot you can see here, I'm trying to line up the whole series, and I've got, in this one the speaker's in focus, and in this one I've got the 700 in focus, and everything is kind of composed across this shot here with everything, you know what I mean? Like I'm trying to just line this up is what I'm doing. Giving away all my secrets here. More focused on the, just trying to make it aesthetic. Got to meet Allison for the first time. We got to connect with some other projects after that, so that was really cool. Definitive Technology came out with their towers this year. I believe this is the Define series. I don't remember exactly. Anyways, they put the phase plug in the mid-range, and then later on Sonus Faber did the same thing. It's not the first brand to do it, but there's a phase plug here. Can't really see it, but they did. This room, I got a couple of really cool shots. I believe this is one of my favorite shots. That's the one. That's the money shot right there. You get Polk Audio and the sound and everything across. You see, I'm like, this one, I'm like, okay, that's not bad. Let's see what else I can do. And then that one's more lined up for advertising sake. So I'm deliberately taking shots here in 2022 for these kinds of angles to try and pull out more drama from the scene. This was one of the images that someone sought to use in an article without asking for it. Looks like they actually got aligned to each other. Yes. So for the previous image, I actually moved the unit from this one to this one. I picked up the CD player on top and moved it so it was aligned across the back. So this angle here is straight, and in this one it's not. You can see here it's not straight. I was like, yeah, I'm not happy with that. The camera doesn't lie. Camera might add 10 pounds, but those 10 pounds matter. So Audio Note UK, really enjoyed this room. Got to talk with Vincent again, capture some really cool shots, more color, more sort of drama. And again, they were good enough that some people wanted to use them in a magazine or website. So it was confirmation to me after this year that, like, okay, I must be doing something pretty good with photos if people are choosing to take them and use them. This room, I think this is sound something. I can't remember the exact distributor. But the first year I got to hear the Wharfdales, and Rich was there. Rich and I have been pretty good friends since then. We got to meet and talk on the regular at each show, have a lot of fun. Fantastic personality. And that's the coolest thing about these shows is meeting fun personality, as well as Angela Gilbert Young here with all these wacky designs and colorful designs and purposeful designs, rocking the boat, breaking the mold, basically doing things that are unconventional but still significant, something that has personality as well as quality is something that's rare because everything is so carbon copied and whittled down and normalized, that something like this that's unique, that serves a purpose, that performs very, very well because it's designed well, it suits someone, right? Like you don't want to have something that's like exactly like someone else. So you come to this kind of thing and you get amazing sound out of it. Really stunning, stunning stuff. And all with a purpose. Capacitor banks, power regulation, signal flow, all that kind of thing is all accounted for. It looks like a pile of, it looks like a hot mess, but it doesn't sound that way. It actually sounds proper. So the shots here are to reflect the whole system, trying to capture as best as I can. Again, like, come on, kind of a shot like that's glorious. That's actually pretty cool. All the capacitors there as a power supply regulation for the unit. Like I think that's super cool. There's nobody really doing that kind of thing. I believe this is the first year that Thomas was testing out his Galleon TS120 amp. I didn't really speak to Thomas too much at this time. I think we got kind of introduced, but we didn't really talk a whole lot. I did get in to listen to it and capture some images and whatnot. I believe these are all via blue cables as well. Massive cables all strung out on the floor. Tisk. They're not even raised off the carpet. That's so terrible. ELAC speakers, Moon audio. Really, really nice displays in the upstairs rooms. This was the first year they came out with the Voice 22 bookshelves. So I wanted to do them some justice, capture some advertising sort of shots, established shots. Mirror audio. Didn't really like these too much because they're really sort of narrow focused. Even though they're a curved panel, you have to be like right in front of them to sound good. Which is, you know what, if you're sitting down listening to music, it's not really a problem. Most of the speakers we all listen to are like that. You sit down in one place and listen to them, but they're not good for like, if you wander around and listen to background music, they wouldn't be very good for that. That's for sure. What are the nice comfy rooms? The Montreal version of this room is actually really cool. I can get to Serwin Vega making an appearance at the show. I thought you can't miss that. Serwin Vega bass bins go way back, but these shots are not really all that, as significant. I think Odeon audio is actually pretty cool. I really like these. The first time I'm seeing this brand, so I went in pretty hard with these. It's just going to say that Angela Gilbert Young, yeah, different approach, but pretty cool. Absolutely phenomenal engineering. Like everything done for a purpose, but colorful and meaningful, like where it can be. Now, these sound absolutely phenomenal as well. Really, really high quality drivers. Sensitivity is amazing. A bit of a thin cabinet, so there may be some resonances there, but I really appreciated the sound of these speakers. Always wanted to demo them at home, but I never did complete or finalize my relationship there with the distributor, so that didn't go all that smooth. Now, these have made some headway in the last little while. Their elevated tweeter, inverse cone, they've been making some headway, but didn't make much of it at the time. You see more fine audio, core acoustics with the black quartz cabinets and the white ones against the wall at the front. So the black ones and the Hagel 600 there. I think that's that's the power amp. I can't remember the model number now of the power amp. Jay did a review of this model, this exact model actually. They brought it in the Toronto Audio Show, and then Jay was able to do a review of the amplifier at home afterwards. This one. Kef Audio, amazing brand as well. Lots of really cool stuff. A lot of edited stuff here. So this is 2022. Let me skip ahead, otherwise I'm going to be here forever. I'm going to skip to 23. There's a couple of really cool shots in that year, but I want to skip ahead because if I don't, we're going to be here forever. Now, 23 at Toronto Audio Fest. Where's Montreal 22? There's Montreal 22. So Montreal, this is the first. Just loading all the images. Yeah, every time I do this, I have to share to a new instance of the preview and then open it up individually. So there we go. So this is Montreal 2022. Different kinds of rooms, different sort of vibe. The whole show is pretty well different from Toronto. And again, I was carrying the same kind of experience, things that I wanted to shoot for, experimenting with angles. Very unique opportunity to shoot the Nautilus speaker here in the Massimo rooms, trying out something artistic that absolutely failed. When putting blurry plants in front of the speaker like that, no, didn't work. A little bit dark on the Definitive Technologies Core acoustics in a smaller room, but this time with audio excellence, showcasing the D'Agostino amps. Really incredible here. Nice lighting, almost symmetrical. My one of my better hero shots, getting the D'Agostinos there in frame. PS Audio in the back rooms. I believe this is the second time they had the FR30s. I believe they're 30s out for display. So they had them in Toronto at one point, and then they showcased them here. Now, I don't remember if Montreal, I believe Montreal 2022 was first. So this was before the last set because Montreal is in March and Toronto is in October of that year. So 2022, that means March would be first. The Rotel Michi stuff, got to know these a little bit better. Cleaned up a little bit. Focal did an amazing sort of Atmos recording demo, so this is actually a really cool opportunity to get in and like experience this kind of thing happening live, record the band, listen to the playback, find out exactly what's happening with the speakers with surround sound. I have to drive now. If I don't reply at the end, have a great weekend. Thank you for being here. Of course, I'm hoping that I can do the music discovery tomorrow. It will be about the regular time, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock p.m., 6 maybe if I can get away with it. Depends on the system. I have to set everything up again. So do look forward to that tomorrow. Music discovery. We'll see what's on the playlist. I do want to jump through some of these shots here. I'm getting different focal angles. No pun intended, focal angles. The surround room. And then in these rooms, in the focal rooms, I really got to meet and talk with Ian a lot more, Ian Richardson. And he and I became more friends as well with like Ed and Michelle from EQ Audio. And they're all sort of like local Toronto family. And the growth of those friendships resulted in some cool music experiences, cool stories. Really makes these shows and going to the shows a lot more fun. Rather than it just being like a display and not being connected to what's happening, I really enjoy being able to meet and connect with some personalities in these spaces. Getting a shot from the floor, however, the ceiling really doesn't do this one justice. This one's a little bit better. I like the angle of the amps and the sign at the other side, but I thought, well, I'm not getting the whole logo, so let's back up and get the whole logo in there. And then, of course, I put my finger in the frame, so I had to retake that one. But this is the kind of thing I'm trying to shoot for. We're capturing multiple products plus the brand name in one shot. Yeah, I'm putting my face against the floor, but it turns out to be worth it. Isoacoustics here represented at most of the Focal name distribution. They were distributed with them for a while. I don't believe they're still with them now. I believe they're distributing on their own at this point, and they've got some new stuff out, so that's awesome. Just trying to showcase what they have on tap. Now, I have a lot of this stuff at home now. I have the Aperta stands, what we're looking at here for bookshelves. I've got the Gaia acoustics underneath my towers. I've got the Aperta sub stands underneath the subwoofers. And to be honest, some of the isoacoustic stuff was the most significant upgrade to my audio system that I had heard. It tightened up the bass. The high frequency cleared up a bit because the cabinet's not even moving or reflecting off the floor. So they really do work. It's not a BS sort of demo. They really do some significant audio changes, and I do believe they're worth it. Totem Acoustics displaying as well as always. This is that room I mentioned just a couple minutes ago that they had an amazing room at Montreal. This is the room that I was talking about, where they set up a sort of like bar lounge in the middle, and you could just sit down in a group and you can listen to speakers this way. This is rare. We don't see this set up this way that often at audio shows. I thought this was really special. And then I believe they also had like a bowl full of candy or something, chocolates. I don't know if I got a photo of that. Amazing finish, coaxial speaker with the horn loaded. No, next room, really cool locally made panels. Pro design panels. The McLaren B&W's got speakers in the McLaren, so they usually bring a car to the Montreal Audio Fest so you can see the car, and they've got the audio system inside, of course. Cool looks at the Yamaha. Not really creative photography there. I got some pretty cool colors from the Aperta system in this room because the window on the side of the room, like this, we got the logos in the background. Pretty good look at all of the Pathos sort of gear. Canor was on display for like one of the first times, I believe, with one of their distributors in the area. With the Klipsch K horns. I don't know which models those are. It's not the La Scalas. Maybe they are La Scalas. Maybe the 6. I don't remember which ones. Synchronies. I believe this is the first year I also got to hear. Just getting some inside shots of the tubes there. The first year that I got to hear acoustic energy. I'm just trying to flip through to see if I got those shots. That's triangle speakers, the Bro 8, I believe. A Pro Design Audio for the panels. They're local to Montreal, so you can look those guys up. Lenbrook displaying some Dolly speakers there. New powered models. Neat Audio, Neat Acoustics, Exposure, the UK brand. There we go. That's the acoustic energy speakers that I was talking about. It's the first time I actually got to hear these, and they were absolutely great. I didn't really get a lot of creative shots of these. I got some pretty cool shots from this side, but nothing like really good. Later on in the years, I developed a different technique for capturing speakers that are tall and getting established shots. I think these were pretty cool, creative sort of room. I thought this was really cool, again, from the carpet basically all the way up across the room. So like a signature sort of shot that I started doing this year and the following years. And a lot of other people have gone and done this sort of like afterwards, which is cool. I don't mind being an inspiration for people. That's awesome. Really nice shot here, like multiple speakers, lots of stuff to display, compare KLH on display. Really kind of cool, giving everybody their laurels. Altitude Audio also in Montreal, all the way across the country from Winnipeg to Montreal, bringing their Tri-Art and Ellipson speakers, switching everything around, comparing speaker to speaker. Some of the best at any show. They will literally swap out amplifiers, preamps, speakers, all weekend long. They'll swap stuff out for people. Head, HEDD speakers powered. The engineers from Atom Audio also part of it. Hey, what's going on? Acoustic Engineering Friday night. So yeah, there's the gold-plated Aperta ISO acoustic stands. I didn't even realize this at the time. Those are probably the only gold-plated stands I've ever seen by them. Probably a one-off finish. I have to ask about those. Again, Mura Audio. So not really doing anything creative with my photography here. A little bit in this one, but not really. Most of the shots are just general, I have to admit. And then every once in a while, like this was a special occasion here with Rido Acoustics and Moon Audio. I hadn't heard these speakers before when I was at Montreal. I thought they were absolutely amazing. Now, this is Montreal 2022, before the last set that I showed 2022 in Toronto. And I wanted to do something better, something different. I've captured, the speakers are almost 6 feet tall, 5.5 feet tall. So I did try something a little bit different to capture them, and different angles, different, sorts of products. There I am holding the phone in my hand right against the floor, basically. Try to capture everything in the shot. It's a little bit difficult. So it's like, if it is possible, then I can capture it. And then if not, I have to find something that does work. Across the whole range, try to display as much as possible, have everything in frame. Basically, it's playing with composition. If I can do it in frame, then I'll try to do it, whether it's symmetrical or whether it's just composition across all brands. Again, here I'm trying to do Rell, Macintosh, B&W all in the frame with the name of the shop in the background. It's not always possible. Sometimes the room doesn't have enough space. I can't back up far enough. The camera doesn't work. It's too dark. You just kind of have to play with it to find out what is possible and what isn't possible. The Gershman acoustics that have separate bass modules as well as top modules is actually really cool. It's actually bi-wired this way, or that's jumper wires from the main, and then the bass module separate from this other tower. That's such a cool design. A lot of people doing that now. Audio Note UK. This is what the opportunity that I got to meet with Daniel himself. Daniel, the son of the owner of Audio Note UK. We got to hang out and listen to music and play some CDs. Got some demo songs. It was actually really, really cool. We're still wearing masks at this point. This is 22. So yeah, there we go. Calling myself out. So at this time, I had audio system specialist, which is ASS. And I did that on purpose because my personality sometimes is not always on point. And I wanted to display my audio name in a different way. And that's kind of how that happened. I then eventually changed it up anyways. I figured using a more personalized individual name is better for my brand's sake than is using a funny sort of comedic name. People will figure it out one way or the other. That's the inside of the billet aluminum. And you could see that it's weighted. There's weights and bracing across here. So B&W is weighting I think it's a one piece or a cast aluminum, and then it's like milled. I have no idea how they make this piece, but pretty cool to see all displayed there. And then this is not a condom. Get your head out of the gutter. This is the most significant development in audio for the last number of years. And you can argue me if you want, but this is the biomimetic suspension. Look, I'm gonna zoom in so you guys can read it. Biomimetic suspension revolutionizes mid-range cone performance by greatly reducing unwanted air pressure and colorization that a conventional fabric spider can generate. Basically, because there's so little material behind the mid-range at those frequencies, the frequencies and the spider are not creating their own sort of wave front, because the spider also moves and the spider is going to throw air. So by reducing the amount of air that the spider throws, you can decrease the amount of distortion and air that's bouncing back through the cone. So having nothing behind the cone to reflect the sound, having an asymmetric sort of cancellation cabinet, and reducing this sort of back behind the mid-range cone, B&W was able to minimize the colorization coming through that cone. Now, it's to say that whether you like it or not, that's what it's doing. And it's the least talked about thing in audio. I don't understand why this isn't talked about more as an innovation. Maybe because it's so subtle and hidden behind view that not a lot of people talk about it. I think it's really, really cool. I think B&W really nailed it with that concept. Of course, the Nautilus. This is Montreal, by the way. I believe these models were on tour around the US this year. In 2022, they went around. Not a whole lot of creativeness here. Did a little bit more for Core Acoustics and Audio Excellence. Again, they all kind of became my friends after shopping with them and seeing them more often. The Granite speakers there, model, Audio Research as always. This is a splash screen I did for my video for 2022. So we're going to jump ahead. I'm going to hit something from 2023. I'm going to move on. Otherwise, I'm going to be here all day, and that's not what I wanted. Close the folder. Not good. How is everybody doing this fine Friday afternoon? Hopefully everybody is doing well. Oh, that's not the folder I need to be in. Where's the folder? There we go. Audio shows. Okay, so we're at 2023. Wondering if I can do Montreal 23 first. Going to load into the folder. Open with preview. This time leave the folder open. Yeah, the photography in audio, to make it interesting, because a lot of it is typically used for advertising. Like, essentially, that's what the photography is. And being interested in audio, I'm able to, or so I've been told, I'm able to capture what is more interesting for audio people. It's because it's photography. It's essentially essentially product photography, but it's aimed at a specific market. So the more interesting images end up showcasing certain things that people are looking for. So like if you come to a show, you're going to be looking at the terminals, how's it wire, what cables they're using, certain things like that. And I learned over time capturing the images to try and capture a lighting, a symmetry, something that captures the brand names. Here you can see Massive and Seismon. Samion. I don't even know how to pronounce some of these names, to be honest. But anyways, you want to be able to capture what people are interested in, brand names, the way it's displayed, the products that are used, things that they're going to sell, or things that people might be interested in. And over time, I got used to seeing the way that, like, what people are interested in, how to display certain things, the way that it's connected, things that may be interesting for people to set up, say like, oh, the way the rack is set up, I didn't know that, or I'm a little inspired by this, or things like build quality, how, like, what are the connections, how do I use this product? And if I can capture everything, a photo will say 1,000 words, so a really good quality photo may speak to a lot of these things. So capturing the right image means that you don't need to get a description per se. The image itself showcases a lot of what you'd be looking for in the first place. Brand name, model name, and then if you need to go and look at it online, then everything is in an image. You can just go from there. Really interesting thing about this image, I just want to showcase this without skipping over it. Hello. Let's go back to this image. In this image here, wow, stop skipping ahead. I purposely hid this little break in the cabinet. Something happened in transport or whatever, and it was damaged on the inside. So I tried to hide that damaged thing behind everything, so you can't really, it doesn't really stand out. Like only if I point it out to you can you see that. So it's just something interesting that happened while I was there. The M10 module by NAD, Dali, showcasing their core speakers. I believe this is the first time they got displayed. I'm not mistaken. They were at the Toronto show also, but this is 23. So they might have been in, no, I went through Toronto 22 already, 23. I'll have to go to 23 now. Macintosh and Rel trying to capture symmetry, trying to get all the lines right. A lot of the systems, Shayunta, power systems. I don't know about those cables though. I don't know what those are. They look like cart tires. I don't know what that is, but it literally looks like a cart tire. Not making fun of it, just saying what it looks like. Oracle turntables, the Eon audio, the internals. There's so much about these amps that I don't know, to be honest. I think they look super cool, but I really don't understand like the technology they're putting inside these amps. They're Canadian made. I think they're built incredibly. There's a reason why the drawer pulls out. It's probably to do with replacing the tubes and cooling. Oracle Audio specialized paint job there on that one. PS Audio advertising their FR20s, I believe. The FR10s are smaller and the FR5s are the bookshelves. Acora Acoustics here. This room is a little bit difficult to shoot in. It's a little bit darker than normal. And then the 300s, Platinum 300s with the monoblock, the Rotel monoblock M8s. Amazing system. Had a lot of fun in this room. Again, Anders from Hegel, got to know him a little bit more at each show. We got to play some songs. And it's really it's really cool to be able to spend year over year being able to talk and relate to some of the guys from the brands, get to know more about the brand as well as them as people, and see see what they like, see what kind of music is cool, see if every year I can bring something kind of interesting, and then get personal insights into what works for advertising, what they're looking for as a brand, what kind of marketing things are important. Of course, my audio files in the wild, everybody coming to have a look. Admiring this one. This one's the first year that the Point Source 10s, Point Source 10s came out for the first time. Andrew himself was there. Andrew Jones was there that year. Only got to talk with him a little bit and communicate, but I thought this was cool that somebody was crouched down in front of the system, just capturing their own photo in front of me. And I captured it and thinking like, it looks like somebody's sort of like praying at an altar to this sound system. So I thought that was pretty fun and interesting. Always full in the DR room. CR Acoustics. Yamaha speakers that came out that year. Just using the shadows on the ceiling. So again, this is about photography, but I captured something, maybe nobody else captured, in just the way that the lighting cast these odd shadows. So in this room, I can't recall the electronic name, but this is the first time that I got to hear Bucart Audio, the S300s, I believe, or 400s. 300s Mark II, 400. I don't remember. Anyhow, the first year that I got to listen to the Bucarts, really excited about that. Didn't really get around to capturing a whole lot. Just got in the room, was able to listen, and got out again. Didn't put a whole lot of time into it. This is something 11. Now that's a terrible shot because the volume knob's out of focus. The back wall is in focus. So this is not one of the best shots I've ever done. But it's sort of like anything we do, right? You're not going to nail the quality at first. When you're learning, there's going to be a learning curve, and you have to kind of anticipate learning from these mistakes, from these kinds of challenges, from dark environments. What I'm trying to shoot here didn't quite work so well. So yes, that's the name of the product, Heaven 11. Thank you. I know Jay did a review on these units probably after they were here. Yeah, really cool units. They did sound really great on these. Both, like, it's a smooth head unit, integrated amp, plus a smooth sounding speaker. So overall, it was really, really nice sounding system, like something you could just listen to all day without any fatigue. So that was super cool. Thank you for the name drop. Appreciate that. Now, these KEF rooms, this was kind of cool. They had two rooms set up. This room was set up sort of with the new 60s, LS60s, the powered models. And then the room beside it, they had set up with acoustic treatment. So they had one room without, just a bare room, kind of same system, and then one room with treatment. So you can go from room to room and compare them. And I thought this A-B set of photos would be really cool to demonstrate that kind of effect rather than close-ups on that shot or on the product itself. And the difference in the room treatment versus the non-treatment is astronomical. There's absolutely no doubt in anyone's mind that using treatments in a room absolutely changes the sound. One, it gets a bit quieter because the room is not reflecting the energy back to you, but then it can also get more clear and change the sound staging because you're not using the room to bounce and reflect sound anymore. Carpet, ceiling, any kind of angle is going to change essentially the width. I'm going to say the width of the soundstage. Now, can the speakers do that on their own? Of course, they have some, but if the side walls are giving you even more, then you're going to get more. You're going to get spatial awareness. A lot of stuff there from Circle Audio. Angela Gilbert Young stuff. I don't know if it's Circle Audio or not. There's always a blue circle on them. I think those are Fink audio speakers. Fink Team or Team Fink. Powered speakers, powered PMC, Bear Audio, Genelec, Neumann. This is it's a local distributor seller for pro audio gear. Also this year, Audio Duson had Aperion Audio and Java Audio all paired together in this room. So this was a really nice opportunity to capture this stuff all together. Try to get really, really good sort of clean sort of shot there. As best I can from my phone anyways. Neat acoustics. Emotiva's first time at Montreal Audio Fest, so I got to meet the team, express some ideas, did some photography for them. Obviously here using the display here was set up on the sidebar when you enter the hotel room. And at this hotel room, for whatever reason, they got a mirror like over the cabinet. So I was able to use the mirror to showcase the preamp and the power amp in the reflection. So you can not only see the front of the cabinets, but the rear of the cabinets all in one shot. Maybe other people saw that. Maybe they didn't. Maybe it was on purpose. I have to assume those guys set it up that way. There's a light in the back so you could see it that way. I think that was super cool. I had to capture that again with more detail. But with the kind of focal length I was using, I wasn't able to keep both in focus. So only one side, one or the other got in focused. Bookshelves, 200, the integrated amp with the giant toroidal amplifier, toroidal power supply and amplifier board there. See all the chips and channels against the middle, power supply on the front, amp board in the back, and then separated from the inputs and outputs by the heatsink. Really clever design, super heavy. Wanted to get the inside shot on that. Emotiva made caps. Oh my God, where are we going with that? Every time I touch the scroll wheel, the starts to freak out a little bit. All the way around, so you get every angle of the inside. Really cool that they do that to get to see the inside of electronics, see how they're made, see what you're getting into. Emotiva subs, previous series. Audio note, this was Nagra and Wilson. Nothing really special. I think that this shot was actually one of my favorites because it has this sort of like lower angle. You're not really like staring down at everything. It's more at a seated position, a little more composition. So this is what I was trying to do with my frame. 3/4 turn. Not as, I mean, it's still kind of the whole system in frame. And again, this is a bit of a photography focused podcast talking about the journey in photography and where I got to over the number of years. I still have a number of years, 23 and 24. I need to showcase a little bit of Expona and then the last couple of years at Montreal and Toronto. Again, this is basically edge to edge frame. I've got both cabinets framed out. Of course, the ever amazing Artist Cloner speakers. This year, something new. The Slate speakers. I believe these are the first of the two towers. I can't remember the name. These are 2.5 way. This image actually ended up on his posters. I was able to hand over a high-res image of this photo. So this is now in their advertising material. And that's just a room number to keep me on track. Harken Audio in Montreal. Cambridge Audio, ELAC. Not really anything creative here. This one actually turned out really well. The wood on the floor, the lighting from the side window, the focus, and this one it came out. It's a little bit washed out, but the angle of the light showcased all the metal work, the handles, the woodwork, the angle of everything. Actually turned out really, really nice. One of my favorites from that year. It's the opposite direction. In frame, a little bit better composition. This one's a little too cropped in, and then this one I got the full angle of the cabinets, a little bit better composition. The gentleman who set up the room was managing the room. Bryced in acoustics. I think I got a pretty good shot of one of these. I don't know if it's in this album or not. And throughout the week, you know, it's a weekend, so essentially it's 3 days, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and I can go back and shoot as many of the shots as possible. I believe this year I was staying at an Airbnb for this show. Cool. Thank you for being here, sir. Always appreciated. Enjoy the Friday. Enjoy the show. All the things that you got to do, whatever's going on. We'll try to catch up with you when I'm finished here. Thank you for being here and commenting. I do appreciate the name drop, the Heaven 11 preamp. Appreciate that. So this is our buddy Drew doing demos of the Definitive Audio surround sound system. Very dark in that space, but the classic Definitive Technology speakers with the SOC and the up-firing Atmos modules. And the Maestro Evo Utopias. And this shot coming up, I got this shot here thinking, okay, this is going to make a really cool shot, but I needed to make it symmetrical. So this shot, the lighting in the background is not symmetrical. So then I moved the lights around and got this shot just a little more symmetrical, and then another a little bit more symmetrical with the shadows in the background. And I was like, okay, this is the money shot. This is the one that's got the most kind of appeal to it, the most symmetry. So I sent it off to the regional manager. All right, I want to scroll ahead, see if there's anything else. I need to get my best of in here. There's an established shot. That's one of my up shots, my hero shot that I copied from Michael Bay that kind of caught wind the last little while. You see a lot of these kinds of shots these days. All right, so I'm going to scroll ahead. I'm going to skip some of the other stuff from Montreal. We're going to go to Toronto 23. Let me see if I can find that. I actually did Expona in 24. Actually in 23 as well. Expona 23. I don't know where that is. Ah, there's Expona 23. There's 4 parts. I think I did a lot of photos. Let me see. Open with preview. So we'll bring these ones down and stop sharing this one. Oh no. Open again. A lot of technology here trying to share through some of these images. I'm trying to move around a lot of the windows so I can share the images and get them on screen. They're not all set up ahead of time, so I have to load them every time a new album is loaded. So there we go. So this is the first time I actually got to hear the Typhon, the CSS audio collaboration model. I think this is the Friday. I was only able to show up on the Friday real quick and get in to hear Jay's presentation of the Typhons. Didn't hear too much about the amp. I know that Thomas's amp was in there. So it was a very good combination of sound. I mean, they both like smooth sound. There's the Renaissance Hotel in Chicago. The Aidas now were a number of years later, and I got to hear them again with the Boulder amps. Again, Will Klein was there. He was really cool to hang out with, talk with. Got a demo song on. TNA was also very impressive that year. Again, at this show, I'm trying to do more of my sort of established shots, trying to capture everything either symmetrical or as much of the logos and the brands in the shot as possible, using my angles to showcase a lot of the product. Across the room, this was the launch of the M3s, Borison Acoustics, and Next Level HiFi, sorry, brought these absolutely gorgeous speakers out. There's my hero shot for the weekend. Amazing using the reflection on the side of the speaker here. Not a lot people I've seen do that. It was something that I thought was super unique and cool. Down the spine of the speaker, trying to get as many angles of the speakers as possible. There's Lars in the background. Brand new that weekend, so I wanted to capture as much as possible. I didn't get the sound demos that I really wanted, but I did my best. Now, something clever that I was doing here with photography is you can see the logo is pretty obvious in the top, but I also did a reflection of the logos off the top of the speaker at the bottom with the reflections off of both speakers. Again, using the reflection across the room. So I've got a semi close-up of the cone plus the gear and the tower speaker in the background as an establishing shot using composition across the frame. This one is my all-time favorite top-down shot. It turned out as well as I could ever hope. I mean, other than the lamp base in the corner and some of the dust on the cabinet itself, but the way that it focused and reflected and it showcased sort of the profile of the speaker, its height you can't see, but you get to see everything else about it. I think this is an absolutely beautiful shot, and it works out well for me because I'm 6 foot tall and I can reach above these tower speakers and capture from an angle that not a lot of other people can capture from, to be honest, because I have the height advantage. One of my absolute favorite. This was a really, really good moment for me as inspiration to find like what is possible with photography, what I can actually achieve when I'm looking for these things that I really like. ATC speakers, I believe. Really, really cool to see them. Let me just scroll down, find some more cool establishing shots. Acora speakers, amazing. The flake granite, these are I believe these are the SRC models. The largest, the first time that they had been displayed. I don't believe I'd seen them any other time other than this. Really, really great speakers. Again, they had them on display in Toronto after that with different set of speaker photos. The Focal demo room using the Chorus series, the upfiring Atmos. Musical fidelity, again, in the using a little bit of the reflection here to showcase myself taking the photo. Now it's a little nod. Normally you don't really want to be in the shots, but I'm being a little bit creative with that one. These are the new Vista series, the new Vista Pre and Power Stage, and then Power Amp and Power Stage. And they were new that year, and apparently they didn't get a lot of coverage. So it was actually really neat that I captured these. They didn't get a lot of play. The new what was the new series, the new Focal series that they came out with? I don't remember what it was called. Not the Vestia series, the other one. Tiva? The Tiva series? Yeah, I believe these are the Tivas. This is the first time I got to see them up front, up close, the new tweeter profile. Just Audio, they got a really awesome YouTube channel, so shout out to those guys. It's a really colorful sort of space. They got everything on display. Imagine traveling all over the place, bringing this to Exponent to sell, and then having to haul a lot of it back if you don't sell it. Well, let me see if I can jump ahead to some magical sort of shots. Some of this I wanted to capture like the Griffin Audio logo in the reflection, like the metalworking is so fine detailed. I wanted to capture like the etching in the reflection across the shot. So you've got this established shot sort of here with Rune actually in the background and the logo there across the front. So the same with these. Wanted to capture all the models in frame. PS Audio, pardon me. Estalon with the extreme speakers. This one more or less established shot across all of the gear and the towers in the background. And I believe this is this shot. Yeah. So the extreme towers plus the Vitis Audio and the other towers against the wall and the logo, everything kind of in one shot. I wanted to bring everything to full attention. This one didn't work out so well because you got the fire alarm, awkward shadows, the whole cabinet's missing. There's too many wires and a bunch of other distractions there, so that didn't really work out all that well. The lighting at the front door was just not all that great. BAT Audio again with the reflection. That's the brushed aluminum look, all the details in the metalworking. I mean, this is where you get to see a lot of the build qualities if you get up real close and you use the camera to actually capture the light that way. Actually, when I was doing QC for the Anthem Paradigm, a lot of the times, I mean, you get to see things when you're building and putting it together to a certain standard or spec that not a lot of other people are going to notice, and we're supposed to. So if I can use something like a camera or a light or a flashlight or some kind of a tool or whatever that I can perfect whatever I'm doing, that's what I was using and utilizing in that space. And it taught me a lot about how the stuff goes together and kind of like what to look for, what not to look for. I mean, if you nitpick at anything enough, you can find flaws, right? Like that's true of anything, especially of ourselves. You get self-critical and self-analytical, and You can pull yourself into these kinds of things. But, it's not good to always do that. Point Source 8, this is the first time that they were on display. There's Andrew Jones there, and the room full of people, which I love being able to capture a room full of people getting demos. And they do come in white with a white grill, so that's something I wanted to showcase. Compare the black and the white together. Getting a full-on explanation there of the system. So that was Exponent 23. I want to skip ahead. Let me see. I do Toronto 23. Do I have Toronto 23? Or do I want to do just 24? Florida, that's another one. That's another one I didn't do. So let's close this. And we'll go to Florida day one, and I'll share what I can from Florida. I think some of the images of Florida are actually amazing. Open with. Oh, no, can't share. Hold on. Clean up by kind. Yep, made it home and still listening. Thank you very much, sir. You are amazing. That's True Voice of Reason chiming in the comment section. I appreciate you for being here. That means a lot to see the interactions. I know that there's been a number of people watching, not everybody commenting, and that's okay. You don't have to, but I appreciate those that do. It lets me know that I'm not just talking to myself into a camera. Share screen, share window. So here we go. Here's a bit of a special image. This is Woody from Woody's Sound Up here. Randy, Cheap Audio Man, and Don Dunn, and we're all in the per listen room listening. This is, I think, after hours on Thursday as they were getting everything dialed up. So this is a very rare sort of like behind the scenes image. I'm sure that not even these guys have seen that image before. Or listening to some of the, I think that's Bradley Cooper and the Lady Gaga movie, whatever it was called. I don't even remember what it's called anymore. But anyways, yeah, that's a little bit of behind the scenes. That's how that weekend started. Coastal Source line source array outdoor speakers, absolutely amazing brand. I think these are, you can get like some super high-end audio throw and distance from these speakers, even outdoor. Really, really good stuff. Completely isolated system, wired to the inside. Really, really cool stuff. Had Stephen King moment on the way, drove through a dead zone. That's really funny. Well, I appreciate you listening throughout the show. You can give me some feedback later on. There's the proprietary connectors for the Coastal Source speakers. They're new on walls, very thin coaxial sort of speaker. It's called the Razor. It's thin, so they called it a Razor. Very clever. Their demo space. The Shelley Labs. Jess Shelley Labs. It's supposed to be Gino Shelley. Jess Shelley. It was really great to meet and hang out with them down there in Florida. Full disclosure, they really helped me out getting down to Florida that year as one of the teams, one of the friends that were willing to see my way down and help me make this happen. I had only been down to a number of shows before to Expona, and Florida was coming up, and I wanted to see what it was like, right? Reach down, and they were very gracious, very humble, and very just helpful, just seeing a vision of things. And I wanted to do right by them by capturing as many images as possible and doing some work. And they've always got great gear. I mean, amazing hi-fi for the price. And it's so interesting looking that you can get pretty decent photos and very interesting sort of stuff with their gear. the way it's connected, the way that they have preamps, headphone amps, their DAC system, amazing stuff. And over the years, all of their rooms are always fun. Like look at the lighting, the comfort, it's like an entire experience when you go to see their rooms. Point source 10s. I believe those are the Zuffa. Zuffa? No, that's the DayZ DAC. Very, very new. And then this is probably the Zuffa. Can't really see it there. It's not all that great of an image, if I'm honest. It is my phone and it is dark, but I'm using some of the lighting to capture the details there. All their display stuff was quite incredible. Now it's a sunny Florida weekend, so of course you got to get that in there. The most transparent speakers of the weekend. I believe those are I can't remember the name of the brand now. Is it Essential? It's not Essential 8. I might have a photo of the brand name here in a minute, but really cool. It's a force canceling woofers on the side, tweeter in the front, subwoofer on the floor. Subwoofers even glass with force canceling and coupled reinforcement. Really, really cool stuff. Treehouse speakers, I think that's Michelle turntables. Really cool stuff with Gishelli Labs. And I wanted to get a shot like through the cone because the cone is like a paper material. I don't think I did get that close up, but wanted to showcase how it was wired, the whole system. Really close up of the woodworking. Gishelli Labs stuff is amazing. Yeah, it is the Zuffa and the DayZ DAC. Amazing feel. So there you go. There's the treehouse for the speakers. Arate speakers with the waveguide. Absolutely really, really cool stuff. Via blue cables in this room, playing reel to reel throughout the weekend. Really cool design to have half of like not a cabinet that needs to be large to accommodate for the waveguide, but just a waveguide to do what it's supposed to do and then have the rest of the speaker fall away. Really, really interesting. I don't think I've ever seen that. This is kind of a new angle of my photography. I don't know that this is where it started, but definitely a new kind of 3/4 angle down across the cabinet instead of up across the cabinet. I started doing this a lot more often after that shot that I got at Expona. The Expona shot from the Borison M3s really inspired me to be like, hey, this is actually kind of cool. I have a subwoofer link I'll email you. I think you'll find it rather interesting. A link? Subwoofer link? Interesting. By the way, art is interesting to me, whether it's photos, audio engineering, all life without art would not worth living. Absolutely. That's absolutely true. Allowing our perspective and our imagination to be consumed, not consumed, but even enjoyed and opened and changed by an artistic expression or a new way of something. It is really interesting. Our minds thrive on growth. They are supposed to grow. And I imagine that a lot of people can relate to the feeling of being held back or meeting resistance or told only how to do certain things. Like, we want to explore. Natural curiosity drives us to do these things, and art can inspire all that kind of stuff. And really, the one word that I find that I repeat myself a lot with audio is inspiration. Inspiration is such an amazing gift. And wherever we can get it, it's like, I'm super grateful to be inspired by people, whether it's a good thing or bad thing. You can be inspired away from stuff as a negative feedback. It's a really neat shot, established shot of the Via Blue display. I don't know that I don't know that they've ever reached out to me. Don and I talk about Via Blue a lot because he loves Via Blue stuff. Isolation pucks, cable riser stuff, cable separation tech. Really cool. I think that stuff is really cool as well. Sub drum, these guys put like speaker drivers inside of a drum kit. I thought that was super cool. I mean, that's a product shot right there. Like that's actually cool. Shout out to DW. That's actually pretty cool. They've got a clock made. They've got speakers and suspended from the rafters or their truss system there. Really, really cool stuff. Oh, by the way, all of these images, all of the write up, all of the stuff that I did is on HiFi Pig magazine. So let me look that up real quick. HiFi Pig magazine, Florida 2024. Copy. I'm going to put the link for the HiFi Pig magazine link in the chat so you guys can follow the link. There it is. That's not the link. Hold on. I must have don't click that. I don't know what that is. Copy. Hold on. There. I'm gonna have to let me see if I can I there. There it is. That's the report for the entire show. So if anybody's curious about any of the photos in this section, please go and check out the webpage. All of the stuff is written out there, all the details for all of the systems and everything that I saw is written in that article. So please visit them. All due respect. Sub drum, yeah, some of this stuff is really cool. I'm getting up a lot closer to some of the products here, experimenting a little bit more with the photography, trying to push what is possible, what I was capable of doing with the phone, trying to reach its limits, so to speak. Orchard Audio, as always, really love what Leo does with Orchard Audio. Incredible amplifiers here. They've got the premium monoblocks off to the side beside each tower. The Pecan Pie streamer, preamp streamer here, and then the Star Crimson Ultra, probably running. Okay, I think the monos are probably running the highs, and the Ultra's probably running the bass here. That's probably what's going on in this system, if I'm honest. I didn't really look into the wiring per se, but I have a feeling that that's what's going on. Short runs to the upper section and the ultras to the lower section. Now I could be wrong. Maybe they're all together and maybe they're just swapping the amps in and out. Everything's kind of on display. Now the one thing I can say about some of the images in these rooms is that low lighting was a very big problem. So I did end up buying a new camera, and I'm going to show 24 and 25 shots in a minute, and the quality is significantly better. The quality of the images, the creativity came up a lot. A real camera allowed me to capture certain things in the details and the products and certain angles. Like this shot's got like a little bit of like fading in it because the low lighting didn't allow me to get the right details or coloration. Now, I'm not that great with Photoshop and I don't do a whole lot of editing if I can avoid it. Try to get everything in camera and use my established shots, sort of like profile shots, to get that depth of field right without using Photoshop to, jump in and do all that stuff. So yeah, all the photos are there for Florida. So I'm going to skip over this and I'm going to jump into like the most recent year. And that's going to bring me to the shots that I had with my Canon camera this year. I think Montreal 25 is where I had a lot of that stuff. Let me see if I can just jump ahead. There's audio. Montreal Canon day 1. Copies. Now, a lot of this stuff, some of this stuff is not, do I have, I'm looking for the marked versions. Okay, there we go. So now I'm going to open up, this will be previews from this most recent year, 2025 Montreal Audio Fest, which was March just passed, and using the Canon cameras to try and get like a different perspective, a different image quality. I think a lot of them turned out really, really well. So this will be the best of right now coming up. If you guys have hung out this long, this will be some of the more creative stuff that I've done and some of the better quality images. So this is at the Bonaventure I don't speak French, hotel in Quebec, Montreal. And I'm using like focal lengths and trying to establish a different kind of perspective here. This is that the best I can do? I'm going to blow these up a little bit more. There we go. Okay. So using the real camera, my depth of field is completely different. So I'm trying to showcase as much stuff as possible. Even the ducks at the hotel, quite cool, but also like a staple feature of the hotel. They have an upstairs, like a rooftop sort of scenery where you can look out the window and look at all of the audio stuff. So this is the entrance for that. View out the window. A pool, also very interesting. The McLaren car that I mentioned in my earlier shots, again, as always, B&W brings the McLaren out so you can see the speakers inside the car. And using my actual camera, I'm getting different kinds of shots here of the car. Much, much better quality photos, if I do say so myself. I can't tell exactly what model this is. It's not exactly the best shot. I don't find that that's completely in focus, but I'm using depth of field here to capture right on the front end of the cartridge. So the clarity in the camera is much, much higher than it was using my phone for anything at all. Now, monitor audio setup in front of their room. I mean, I could zoom into all of these, but if there's any details you'd like to see, let me know. The Platinum 200s, the new monitor audio studios, the new edition of the studios with their new tweeter. Sennheiser booth inside of Headphonium or Ear Gear. I can't remember what they call Earvana. They called it. Oh my god, I almost forgot. Sennheiser HD600s PSB system that was given out. Now I do have a complete video series of the Montreal 25 set, and there is a Montreal 2025 on HiFi Pig magazine as well. Let's see if I can look that up. Yep, there's the 2025 as well. So some of the shots will be there. Not all of them, but most of them, some of them. See, the best thing about using real cameras is the ability to actually focus on what you want. Yes, unless you're using like pro settings on a phone and manipulating it that way, then it does indeed allow you to focus really, really well. I'm going to jump to some of the stuff that I captured, like the metalworking on the Moon Audio here, some of the lighting, the angles, the metalworking, the buttons. Now this one with Gershman Acoustics, I was able to focus on the logo on the chairs and just get an established kind of shot of the background systems. It's more artistic this way, in my opinion. Now, is it showcasing their products? Not really. But is it interesting? Does it capture enough attention to say, hey, that looks cool? This one with the blurry images of the chairs in the front and the product in the background, again, different kind of quality. It allowed me to express a vision that was much different. Now that's a left and right speaker. Inside of the Eon amplifier, again, from previous years, I was able to shoot kind of through the side, but now we get a completely different look inside the chassis. Oh man, what time am I on here? 2 hours? Okay, this is, I need to start wrapping this up. Eon Art, again, this like completely different kind of focus here. Again, like you mentioned, I'm able to focus on what I want to shoot rather than what the camera wants to shoot. I'm getting all kinds of details. And it is a macro camera, so I can get in super, super close to some of the details and showcase really, really nice, build quality on some of these things, some of these products. Things that are, you don't normally see per se, but I'm able to get right in there and shoot a certain way and create like an artistic style with it. Like I was trying to get the edge of the buttons or the numbers focus here, but I didn't quite nail it. I think I got like between them somehow. Connectors across the back of the towers. Now the thing is with me, now I'm getting the top connectors and the bottom connectors in the same shot, even though they're not in focus. And that it's because the product, if you look at the way that it's set up, the top part is around the base module. So it's similar to those other speakers we were looking at in my other photos. But in this model, they're all kind of like wooden and the jumpers still apply. So I wanted to capture this fact that they are jumped from top to bottom, but I didn't want to make it like in an obvious way. So if you're enjoying sharing, go until you won't. Well, the problem is actually the way I'm sitting is a little uncomfortable as well. So I want to get out of the chair. I was challenged by Jason with Dolly and Lenbrook. Well, Dolly actually is a Dolly representative. That they can't ever, like, usually the color of the Dolly speakers, the new Epicors, is never really right on camera. So I took the challenge and thought, okay, I need to get the best color possible in these shots. And I think this is one of them that I got like really, really well. Very, very sharp, very clean, all kinds of wood grain. And you get to see all the details in the speaker, including the dust on the cover on the front. Not all of them are the best. It's really hard to, without a tripod, just using my hand to try and capture like really fast sort of, hey, what's going on, man? Hey, brother, happy weekend. Oh, we love your photos. Hey, look what it is, bro. Look what it is, bro. What is it? That's what it is. Yeah. Sharing what I can. I appreciate the love as always. Hopefully you guys are having a good weekend too. Yeah, I took on the challenge. I was like, yeah, let's go. Let's see if I can get the right color and make these look even better and get an established shot of some of the speakers. And this is one of my favorites. Using the right focal length and the right angles, you capture more or less what it looks like in real life. Because if you're using the wrong lens and the wrong focal length, it can sort of distort and bend some things. So I wanted to capture them for like more real looking. Again, I'm using some of that blurry effect in the front, a little bit of an angle there to give some flair to the speaker. Like this is okay. This one I didn't do well with the blurriness. This one kind of hits the mark. So when I'm shooting photography, I'm kind of playing with the angles and the clarity a little bit. I want to use the composition and clarity to capture more of what I'm seeing in my mind, like what the angles are doing and what the product looks like in real life. Of course, you're not going to be down here looking at a speaker like that unless you're a cat. But, no pun intended, Scott. Or cat, could be either one. I don't know who jumps in on the YouTube, but I imagine it's Scott one way or the other. It's all good. ISO Acoustics did some special feet there. That's a turntable, stable 3.33. That's ISO Acoustics feet underneath the turntables. Really awesome stuff. You can kind of see the brand name there off to the side. I think I got a sideways shot there in a minute. There we go. It is sideways, but you see what I'm talking about. Brand names there. Hold on. Zoom in. Hello, zoom in. Doesn't want to zoom in. Anyways, there you go. Using that focal length and narrow in on the brand name. Emotiva displaying quite well. I did a video with Jake down there at Montreal. So that's the monoblock that's the front across the back more or less in focus. And I've got the Emotiva brand logo in focus on the side, kind of. 1 or 2 f-stops would have opened that up a little bit, but that's what I was trying to do. Emotiva stack. A Kef speaker that was tucked away in the back room. I thought that was, just a pop of color in the wooden cabinet was pretty cool. That didn't go so well. That's opposite focus. But that's Fosse Audio is demonstrating their V3s and their monos with new speakers. Focal speakers. Not new speakers, actually. That's older speakers. But it was nice to see that they brought a system out. The amazing Sonus Faber Amatis. There's that 3/4 sort of angle shot that I was talking about from Expona and other shows, like getting that shot from top down across the speaker. This is kind of like an angle we would see our speakers, right? Like we're walking around the room, we walk up to them, we put them down, you see them. This is what it's going to look like. You're going to walk up to the speaker and this is the view that you're going to have. And in frame like that, for some reason, it makes it look a little different. It looks more artistic. Wood grain, established shots across the Bryston amplifiers. Amazing system. 4B. I think that's a 14B cubed. So it's a very powerful stereo amplifier. The strings, focused across the strings there. Then this shot I sent to the engineer. I sent this to Livio Cocuzo from Sonus Faber. Like, look at this. Look at the pores in the wood across this angle. This is some magic right here. This is the new speaker, the Concerto. And I wanted to capture that little logo as best I could. Shitty service on the plane. I'll watch the rest later. Have a good weekend. On the plane? Oh yeah, because you were on vacation, yeah? Or going on vacation? Enjoy yourself. Absolutely. Thanks for stopping in. Yeah. This was a purposeful shot. I wanted to get this shot just so I could show Livio. And I know how much time and effort and dedication teams put into making something come true. And I wanted to do the product as best I could. So you can see like the focal zone here across the front, the leather, everything. You kind of have the overall shape. You know which product it is based on this shot. And I wanted to get something special just for them. So that's what this shot was for. Hagel Room spent a lot of time in there again with Anders and Rich. And that's the new 400, I believe, H400. Kanto had some amazing stuff out there. I love Kanto products. Their Aura and their Yuki. This is a new model, the Yuki model. And their Aura beside it. It's Canadian design, so that's actually pretty cool. I like that. The Aura speaker. I'll basically everything you would want in a desktop speaker right there. powered, USB input, Bluetooth input, subwoofer output from a bookshelf like that, you'd need it. Waveguide, and then your RCA inputs from a DAC. That's amazing. At a desk, that's everything you would want. Von Schweikart speakers, amazing, as always. Try to get some really nice shots of this stuff. I think I got a pretty decent shot from like across the room. Not this one, not this one, this one, this one. This is my favorite out of all of them. Get like really, really clean shot on the grill, the detail on the woofer. Pretty much nice color, nice established shot, aligned with the back of the room kind of thing. It's a little bit different from the other ones. The other ones are a little bit closer, I believe. A little bit different angle. It doesn't quite work for me. This one just works better. Maybe because of the separation in the back. The contrast here actually helps. Because this one you don't see this contrast. And then this one you do. Kind of gives you more of a sense of the cabinet, but also something else I'm noticing. See this line and this line? This doesn't line up right. For me, this is a no-go. I don't like this, but this works for me. It's the continuity of angles and lines in the image with the composition of the photo itself actually brings more joy to the image. I don't know how to describe that, but that's something that my eye is naturally drawn to. I can see angles and lighting and correlation and the way that things in the image relate to each other. I can't explain how. It just pops into my mind. And I keep shooting for it and shooting for it and shooting for it. Like even the striations in the slate for the artist cloner speakers and the angle of the table. Now, this is a bad angle, but if I could make this work, then that's what I'm looking for, the contrast between the lines. This one as well. So the angle of the table and the front part of this, I'm giving away all my secrets here, but this is what I'm looking for. This line here goes all the way up across this table. And there's this little bit of contrast between the table, and then this is dark, and then this is dark, this is light, this is light. Like I'm really, really shooting for a synergy is what it is. A synergy across the composition. It's not amazing detail. However, I'll go in for detail later. Playing around with some shots, getting some details in the cabinet. This is all aluminum work here. The artist cloner speakers are phenomenal. They're massive too. They're taller than I am almost. And then here's my money shot. This shot kind of silhouettes the speaker in the background, but in the foreground we get this. And this is all like, it's ceramic coated machined aluminum. And I was just able to capture the logo right in the middle of the chassis at this angle. And like, look at the machining work. Some of the best photos I've ever taken were done here in Montreal. Again, here, same thing. The machine work around the dial, the front display. You can even see the pixels. And then the artist name. Absolutely amazing. Just to be able to, like, it's one thing being able to take photos of this stuff, but it's a whole other thing. Imagine being like, the designer and the person that's crafting these materials and the time and the vision that they have bringing this stuff to life. And then my step is to enhance that one step further, to showcase it in such a way like dreamlike. When you think of something in your waking life, it's not the same as it is in your dreams, or when you dream it and then you try to remember it, it's never the same in both ways. So my goal in taking photography of these items is to bring a whole other vision to it, to to make it dreamlike, to capture details that, when you see it in person, you may forget. Like the machining in the front billet aluminum plate around the speaker. I'm trying to capture and looking at some of the details that may be missed, but then when you go back and look at it like this, you're like, oh my goodness, like that's an incredible detail. And of course, it represents their work. They spend a lot of time, uh, and effort into making these products that they deserve the showcase. In my mind, they deserve the showcase. There's David Solomon from a former Cobuzz employee, now with another really cool gig. And then, oh my goodness, am I blanking on his name right now? Silvio from Artist Cloner, the designer of the speakers there. I just caught them in the room and I was like, yeah, go for it. Let's do some kind of a fun shot. So that's the both of them having some fun there. And proud Papa, he's really happy about those. It was quite the weekend, and kudos to him for sticking to it and bringing a vision to life. They're quite something. There's one of my prize shots for the weekend, a KEF and SPL Electronics. This is a monoblock amplifier in the background. Same kind of idea, just shooting across the Uniq. Not quite the images that I want on some of these. I may have to fast forward to the last album. Some established shots there, the FR5, details in the cone, the paperwork, the tri-art speakers. Actually really, really cool stuff. Really cool stuff. What is going on? Tough Nut, the isolation feet. That's a pretty cool display of them there. It's actually, I didn't notice, but this one in the middle stays in that location when I move. It doesn't actually change. I just rotate it around it. Let me see. SVS brought their towers out, their subwoofers, the new 17s. They brought the 17s out. I was going in for details here on the SVS. Look at this. You can capture the logo right underneath the brand new tweeter. Just kind of gives you this ominous sort of orbs in the darkness, like base orbs, like spaceships, but they're base. The woven glass fiber cone there. Morel actually brought some speakers out there. They were selling with their new distributor there. VPI model, I believe that's probably in the Acora room. No, yes, in the Acora room, or no, that was in the Fine Audio. That was Tricell, one of the Tricell rooms. Probably have a zoomed out shot here in a second. Bass ships, that's hilarious. I should have saw that. Shout out to Thomas and Stereo here, the Galleon speakers, the vented ones. That's hilarious. They're bass ships. Bass ships in the night. Man, I'm gonna have to talk to Nick about that one, see if he can quote me. Bass Wars. Galleon Audio, the new power amp, the 75, the A75, and then the preamp. That's a look in the inside of the preamp. Thomas and Stereo was just talking about that on his YouTube channel recently. The Pearl Acoustics, that's the connections across the back. That's the Balius. That's the speaker that absolutely wowed everybody in Montreal. That this speaker is truly phenomenal for a 3.5-inch, 4-inch woofer in a transmission line design. Totally amazing. So let me skip ahead. Some of my favorite Bowers and Wilkins shots. And then I'm going to need to show you the Boris and acoustic shots, and then we're going to get out of here. To be a little bit, I have to be a little bit time wise now. I do share a space, and I don't want to have a disruption. So it's a pretty established shot across there. The new Marantz units, absolutely phenomenal, amazing custom built Purify units in there. Let me see if I can skip ahead. Skip. I don't want to be skipping too much here. There's the Boris and Acoustics C2s. There's one of my favorite shots, except that one's blurry. So on this day, I was like, okay, I need to get this shot. I need to be able to shoot for this angle because that's basically their branding there. But I wanted to make sure the speaker was in focus, but then also you get the banner in the background. So it's basically they're advertising their slogan, the speaker, the reflection off the side wall behind their setup. So like this banner shows up in this reflection. Actually really, really cool. I saw this in my mind and I wanted to get this shot. So this is one of my closer lenses. And then on the following day, I was able to come down and get a different angle. Now this shot is underneath the Q5, the Rotel Q5. So these are the buttons that operate the CD player underneath the Q5, and then the isoacoustics feet that they're using to isolate that unit. It's really, really cool. Like on the front, you can see the logos, but the buttons are actually underneath the unit. So you just reach underneath with your fingers, you know what I'm talking about, and you get everything to work. Underneath here, you can't really see the logo for it, but that's where the buttons are. Okay, so I'm going to skip ahead. There's a little bit of the Focal Divas there. Close this one. I'm going to go in on day 3. Let's get day 3 out here. Day 3's got some of my favorite shots. And then we'll get out of here. That'll be it for the rest of the stream. I get these shots in here and then we'll get out of here. I promise it's worth it. Some of these are really, really cool. And thank you for sticking around to the end. So here's the established shot. This is what I was really trying to aim for on that previous day. So that's basically the finished shot, is to have everything in frame, top to bottom, front and back of the speaker, the reflection. That one's so incredible. You see the carbon fiber in the side of the speaker, the color all across the domes, across the front of the speaker, like really amazing. The reflection of the cable is a little bit irritating, but at least it establishes how it's connected. Turned out really, really well. Now this is my 80mm lens, so I was able to capture a little bit more detail, a little bit more realistic looking, and the color across the front is just gorgeous. Some of these just turned out so great, and I love these speakers. Absolutely love them. The C2s are some of my favorite aesthetically that I've ever seen. Yeah, but speaking of button feel, here's some shots of knob feel. And feel this knob. So that's on the new U188, I believe, AVIC acoustics, AVIC electronics. I can't really see what it is here. I think it's the U288. So I went around the room and then I got this other shot. I think this is one of my other favorite shots of the whole weekend, is I've got the same phrase on the banner, but from the other side. So it's still this shot. Let me see. I'll just go back. So it's this shot. It's this phrase, right? Same speaker. but I'm shooting from the other direction. So I've got the same brand logo, the same slogan, the same brand representation. But now what I've got is it's lined up against the carbon fiber panel and reflected off the side of the cabinet from the opposite side of the cabinet. So the other shot was from the right side of the cabinet, and now I'm shooting from the left side, but I had to basically back up against the wall in order to get this shot. Otherwise, there's no way I would be able to see. And I tried a number of angles, get it in focus, get the speaker out of the way, get everything sort of positioned right. And it's one of my all-time favorite shots, and this is the last show that I was at. So then I change focus and I go to the other side of the room, and these are the Weinbergs, and I end up with this absolutely gorgeous photo. Really, really sharp. Shows the cage, the details on the Accuton drivers, Accuton woofers, tweeter, and the established sort of profile and shadow of the Weinbergs across that side, just using the reflection to contrast it against the floor. Then the T5 and the X6 sort of side by side. I wish I had moved the rope out of the way, but that's the best that I could get at that point. Two of my absolutely favorite speakers. I still want the X6, absolutely. And then because the T5s weren't being played, but I wanted to capture as much as possible, I really went in with the macro lens, and I wanted to capture as much detail as possible. Capture like the finish on the carbon fiber here, the cabinetry, the fit and finish. It's like a work of art on its own. So I really, when I'm capturing any of the photos of anything, I want to bring out more of its beauty from certain angles. A joke related to knob feel? No, it never gets old. We do, but the joke doesn't. So that's the Borson Acoustics T5. And some of my last sort of shots from Montreal 25. Showcasing some of the elegant details that they've included in that speaker. That's the L3. The L series is the lowest in the Borson Acoustics. That's not really been shown that much, but again, very, very high level quality for price. Absolutely. Trickle down technology all the way. A bit of a unique look, a little bit of Dyne Audio in there. It's one of my all-time favorite shots as well. This X6 in front of the T5s for the established sort of contrast between them. And a little bit of B&W just to shine them on a little bit. And then there's enough detail in here. You can actually see the diamonds on the tweeter through the grill. A sparkling diamond coated tweeter. It's really hard to do freehand as well, by the way. Anyhow, that's enough for me. I'm going to get out of here. And I thank you all for being here and joining me on this photography display from what my journey started as to what it has become. And I hope that some of it has been inspiring and interesting and forthcoming. Now you know a lot about where I am in my headspace, how I establish some of this stuff, and what kind of influences that I've drawn on in order to get to this place, especially at this time. Now, I'm not a professional at any means. I have a long way to go. I have a lot more to learn, and I'm looking forward to the next phase. And if you'll stay with me, then you'll be able to see what I come up with. And if you like any of the photography, then please reach out to me, look into the bio, look into the details. You guys can contact me via email, and we can set up some kind of work or whatever the case may be. I truly appreciate all the support. For me in the weekend, I'll see you tomorrow live for the weekly Discovery playlist, the music showcase. I'll scroll through my playlist and see what's going on. I'm going to put some cream on this face because I'm all stressed out right now. And I will see everybody in the future in the inspirational waves to come. I'm just talking for the sake of talking now. Anyways, thanks for being here today. Thank you so much, True Voice of Reason, Scott, for hanging out with us and losing the connection there. Scotty, Acoustic Engineering, came in. Home Theater Denmark was here for a bit. He let the dogs out. Now we know who did it. And I'll see everybody in the next video. Thank you. Have a great night. Have a great weekend. Be safe. Ciao.